Hello, my friends. Just a very quick update from me because some of you will know that I'm heading off to France and Spain next week in Golf Oscar Romeo. My subscribers who join me on my website and on Patreon have been given details of the route that I'm taking, and I'm going to be giving them updates regularly. But I thought I'd just share with you the plan that I'm heading off to France and Spain next week. I'm setting off on Tuesday, be probably heading off to Alderney, down to La Rochelle, where we'll overnight stay there. Then we'll press on down to Pamplona in Spain to refuel and probably overnight there. And then down to, over the Pyrenees, down to Castellón, I think is how you pronounce it, which is just to the west of Barcelona. We'll stay there for as long as we're able to. Essentially, it looks as if we're going to come back early. That's simply because there's some weather moving in. I'm going to take you through some of the planning about this in a minute. And we're going to come back by heading east. We're going to cross over the north of the Barcelona zone and then to Perpignan and then up to Limoges. We'll probably overnight at Limoges and then come back via Duval. That's the current route. As I say, more detail on this can be found if you subscribe to any of my premium memberships over on my website or on Patreon. Very often I'm asked about how I plan for these trips, and I kind of groan when people ask me because it's not easy to make a video about the planning of a trip like this, and that's simply because it's not a process that just happens at the click of a finger. It's something that evolves over many days. In fact, I will have been thinking about this trip. In fact, this trip first originated back in last October. It was something I was going to do then. So I have a route in my head as to roughly where I want to go. And then as the weeks have got closer to this week, I've been focusing very much on the weather because there's no point setting off for a destination that you can't get to or can't get back from. And when you're setting off on these longer trips, obviously you need to bear in mind that you've got to get back. At the end of the day, I've got a family back here at home and I've got work to come back to. So it's important that we do this properly. So with that in mind, let's have a look at some charts. And I'm using the Weather Online website, which I found really useful recently. And I'm just going to click. This is showing precipitation and also the surface level pressure. And I'm going to click over to Tuesday, which is my day of departure. And I'm going to click on to lunchtime just to get a pretty much what it's going to be like. Now, as you can see, we've got this high pressure over England and northern Europe, and that's what's brought all this lovely weather that we've had this weekend. And as you can see, there's a northerly flow over England leading to an easterly flow over northern Europe. But high pressure dominates, and there's not an awful lot of weather to be concerned about. Potentially a bit of low visibility as the air is coming over the continent here, but perhaps a bit of showers, as we can see here over western France. Some of these showers were showing up over the Pyrenees on earlier models of these weather systems, but that seems to be an awful lot better. So I can see here on Tuesday, as we head over the Channel, over to the Channel Islands and then down to La Rochelle, we should have no trouble with that at all. Clicking ahead 24 hours, we'll overnight at La Rochelle and then head down the western coast of France, cross over Biarritz. We were planning to land at Biarritz and overnight there and fill up with fuel, but unfortunately Biarritz has decided that they're IFR only until sometime in early July. So that was a bit of a shame. San Sebastian, I could land at San Sebastian. The reason I wanted to land at Biarritz is because it's in France and the fuel price is so expensive in Spain. Certainly that's how I found out. Maybe there are some places cheaper, but I found it very expensive in Spain. I was going to land in France at Biarritz, overnight there, fuel up, and then head down to Spain to avoid a fuel stop in Spain. But sadly we can't, so we're going to go to Pamplona, which is going to be interesting. Isn't that where they do the bull running? I think it is. Hopefully overnight at Pamplona, and then cross down here sort of southeasterly, and that brings us out. I'm trying to think where that brings us out exactly, but it's to the west of Barcelona, and then we just cross a little bit south down the Spanish coast to Castellón. I was going to land at the smaller of the two Castellón aerodromes. One of my followers is based there and he'd invited me down there, but unfortunately they don't have any fuel this week. So these are the things you learn and find out as you start planning. You know, the original plan was to go to Biarritz, to land at Castellón. Biarritz, we can't land there. They don't have VFR flights landing there. San Sebastian, it's a bit of a faff, lots of handling and so on. Pamplona, there's no handling. If you've got 2 crew on board, it will be myself and another one of my followers who's a pilot. And then Castellón, we can't land there. There's no fuel. So there's another larger Castellón airport. We're going to land there instead. Overnight there, perhaps once, 1, maybe 2 nights. And then moving on to Thursday and Friday, we can see that we've still got that high pressure, that ridge of high pressure leading into the whole of Europe there. And so certainly Thursday and Friday is very flyable for the route back, and so is Saturday. So we're pretty confident of being able to get back. We can see this low pressure system here winding up over northeastern Europe, and that starts moving in. I think if we go into Sunday, you can see this system starting to edge into Western Europe. The original plan was to come back Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. But as you can see, this low pressure system Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday, that high completely collapses there, and Wednesday is a complete washout by the looks of this this chart. So, you know, you can have plans, but you have to alter them based on the weather. And I was, you know, quite happy to consider going somewhere completely different if needs be. So people ask me about planning for flights. It really is very much something that develops over time. It's not possible really to make a video about it as such. We can talk about the practicalities as I've just done, but to sort of show you how I plan it. In terms of the route I'm going to take, on advice of some other people, I'm going to try and fly the French Airways all the way down to Spain. They pretty much follow the route I want to fly. I'll try and fly at or above flight level 65, which is where the airways start. Those airways are great pretty much because they keep you away from all of the danger areas and restricted areas, which is quite handy. They take the class of the airspace they're flying through, and so that we don't have Class A airways as we have here in the UK. In this respect, these are sometimes D, C, and E airways. So that's the plan, and yeah, it's all set. It's all set to go. Oscar Romeo's going in to have an oil change, which it's due to have anyway, and an inspection to make sure everything's going okay, and that will be good peace of mind for me. And we're pretty much all set. I've just got to do some weight and balance and have a look at that. I'm going to have to think about performance. In fact, I think all the aerodromes I'm flying to, with the exception of Red Hill, are all long runways. But obviously it's very hot down there at the moment. It cools off next week, so hopefully it'll be slightly more bearable. But obviously performance could be an issue. I might not be able to get as high as I want to get, for example. And I might need those longer runways, particularly as we'll probably be very heavy. So that's a very rough little chat about the plans that I have next week. I'm extremely busy. I'm working today. I'm in my lunch break from work at the moment. I've been down in Worthing. I've just come back home. I'm going to start editing a piece for the BBC programme now. And I'm working tomorrow and I'm working Monday, and then we fly off on Tuesday. So I've got a lot of things to sort of tie up before then. If you want to follow our progress, then obviously you can see us on Flight Radar 24. Golf Bravo Hotel Oscar Romeo is the call sign. We'll be heading off, I think, at about 10 o'clock in the morning local time on Tuesday. Come and say hello if you're in Alderney. We'll be stopping there for some lunch and, most importantly, cheap fuel. And then off to La Rochelle on Monday. And if you're subscribed, or if you wish to subscribe to my premium subscriptions on my website and on Patreon, I'll be bringing you daily vlogs and daily updates with any luck about how we're getting on, the map of our route for the next day, the tracks of the route that we've just taken, and any difficulties that we've had en route. So if you really want to know what's happening, go and have a look there. Of course, in due course, I'll be making videos about these trips and we'll be sharing them with you all. But if you like to get the inside track on all of that, go over to my website or to Patreon, and for as little as £1 a month, you can sign up for exclusive updates. So next time I speak to you, hopefully we'll be at Red Hill, heading off down to Alderney. See you soon. Fly safely, my friends.